friends, welcome to the Evangelist Nick Garrett channel. If you're new, enjoy the ride. I'm doing something I've only ever done one other time in the 5 years I've been making videos. We've got about 350, and I'm remaking a video. As you know, in the last month, I've committed to improving our process, the delivery, the research, and the film production. And when I recorded this before, I got a little too wrapped up in making the production look good, and I didn't quite get across the idea I wanted to get across. If you want to read the theological position paper on this, visit evangelistnickgarrett.com. Today we're talking about, is prophecy real, and does it reveal the imminent return of Jesus Christ? You're going to have to stay with me for the whole thing because I'm putting together some very interesting pieces here that reveal a lot of really deep stuff. Now, there are a few prophetic matters in Christian scripture that make these questions very serious indeed. Essentially, is prophecy real, or is it a reliable means of foretelling future events? And is the return of Jesus Christ imminent? The scripture I'm looking to for this is in the book of the prophet Daniel, chapter 12, verse 4. This is where it says, "But you, Daniel, close up and seal the words of the scroll until the time of the end. Many will go here and there to increase knowledge." Another version of it, or a more common one, says, "But you, Daniel, shut up the words and seal the books until the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall increase." There's a sense in the way this is interpreted in most commentaries that the to and fro will be aimless and global, and that the increase in knowledge shall be aimless. In recent years, thousands of people interested in science and the cosmos, but without the benefit or structure of academia, has led to a resurgence in things like flat earth theory, the idea that the earth is in fact flat, not round. Now, I'm not here today to argue flat earth theory. If you believe that, great. If you don't, wonderful. I'm pointing to the epistemology of the fact that ideas like this are being discussed on a mass scale. So why flat earth theory? Well, for many reasons. One, the random global amalgamation of information intake from the World Wide Web. Two, a distrust of institutions like academia and their papers. Three, observations and beliefs stemming from general society and political corruption. Four, random legitimate discoveries and advances in thinking and facts. And the fifth premise of the return of the flat earth theory from an epistemological standpoint is that there's no formality or uniformly accepted nomenclature, right? It's not like other subjects where you have the main idea and there's common terms used in it. It's these facts cause the subject to be understood on a spectrum and not by a universal theory like many other subjects, including heliocentrism, which is the round earth theory. Now, flat earth theory seems to produce the same denominationalism found in Protestant Christianity. As an aside, you have devoted adherence to a specific text, a great concern for accuracy, writing, and practices, yet disregarding the accompanying historical information and traditions. In flat earth, you have this happening with the rejection of academia. The spectrum of flat earth beliefs range from the conspiratorial to other subsets seemingly emerging Christian doctrine on the issue. There's a hard science camp, testing and observing, maybe for the first time since Galileo's discoveries were accepted in the Western world. And an almost inconclusive range of ideas, all stemming from this increase in knowledge, access and retention, but without order or reason. It seems to match Daniel's to and fro and increase in knowledge. Another phenomenon called the Mandela effect reveal the idea that the Christian prophecy of the global increase in knowledge and to and fro movement are in fact occurring. The emergence of this seemingly digital movement in academic terms may be covered by the scientific theory called false memory. The Mandela effect, so named for the seemingly large number of people who adhere to a lived memory of seeing Nelson Mandela's obituary and funeral on the news in the mid-1980s, only to find him later alive, once again in the mainstream press, and eventually passing away legitimately. The Mandela effect goes deeper and seems to focus on movie lines or retail products and advertisements that are expressed in our society in slightly different terms than they were originally produced. For example, Luke, I am your father, is a common memory for the Star Wars fans, yet a close examination of the film will reveal it to be no, I am your father. So these two phenomena, flat earth, Mandela effect, they reveal this increase in knowledge brought about by the digital global age. Further, they seem to be perfect examples to capture the tone of Daniel's passage that somehow this increase in knowledge is aimless. Every subject is seeing new ideas and criticism of old academic ideas. This regularly occurring general dynamic seems amplified in our time. Of particular interest are the developments in learning about the cosmos and metaphysics, and the swing back toward the idea of an intelligent designer over the theory of evolution. This is admittedly not taking place in academia, but at a minimum, supernaturalism as a better descriptor than naturalism for the entire universe is back on tongues after almost a century of silence. At minimum, since the 1925 Scopes monkey trial and its subsequent effects. This increase in knowledge seems to be largely autodidactic, or at least a disjointed phenomenon without the structures and nomenclature so important for understanding a subject by commonly accepted academic standards. This unstructured learning has had an interesting and largely positive impact on the spread of Christianity, mostly in the form of the idea to a return to a monotheistic God and general return to supernaturalism. Lots of individuals today opt out of organized Christian worship, but claim a belief in God and Jesus and have at least some authentic minimal practices in his or her life. You know, it's compelling too that Jesus Christ's main argument regarding himself was the veracity of Old Testament prophecies pointing to him. The Road to Emmaus passage. Believe the words of Moses, for he wrote of me. Or Matthew chapter 24. The esteemed Calvinist Reformed theologian Dr. James White often notes that Jesus Christ carried a high view of Scripture, both for the duration of his earthly ministry and beyond. The Apostle Peter, his first sermon after Christ's ascension, recorded in the book of Acts, emphasized fulfilled prophecy. This is noteworthy given that after a God-man rose from the dead, ate with him, stood and breathed in his very presence, and called him brother, Peter chose prophecy as the deal sealer in his first sermon. This truth is even more compelling when considering the fulfillment of prophecy said to reveal the stage for events leading to a second coming of Christ, such as an increase in knowledge and to and fro movement in a truly global community. Currently, Orthodox universal Christian prophecy is interpreted to have dual meanings, right? The event that the prophet wrote about happened in or after their lifetime, but their prophecy is also intended to convey a message about something that will happen in the future. Sometimes the prophet is acting as the voice of God. In other terms, it is God's words coming from the prophet. A reader notices first-person language, I, me. Sometimes the prophet speaks of or for God in third-person masculine language, him, he, God. An example showing this dual-meaning interpretation is well presented in the book of the prophet Isaiah, chapter 10. In chapter 10, Isaiah is speaking to the tribe of Judah about judgment that God will level upon them via the Assyrians. One could notice that the text also reads as if it's describing events of the current world and the results of it and actions of current world governments, social movements, and individuals. Of course, whether or not current events are truly being described is a subjective part of the Christian practice that varies from denomination to denomination, from individual to individual. Here's that passage in Isaiah. Woe to those who decree unrighteous decrees, who write misfortune, which they have prescribed, to rob the needy of justice and to take what is right from the poor of my people, that widows may be their prey and that they may rob the fatherless. What will you do in the day of punishment and in the desolation that will come from afar? To whom will you flee for help? And where will you leave your glory? Without me, they shall bow down among the prisoners, and they shall fall among the slain. For all that, his anger is not turned away, but his hand is stretched out still. Theologians and historians certainly agree generally that this prophecy proved true via Assyrian military aggression and the occupation of Israel. Now, on the main topic, well-written prophecy can be held up in any generation and read like it is describing current events. One might consider the work of Sir John Glubb, The Fate of Empires, when you consider this point. This 30-some page essay more than adequately provides a generalization for the life cycle of a human civilization. If these facts about how prophecies are interpreted are accurate, and Glubb's life cycle of a civilization are accurate, that means the books of some prophets, and more importantly, the prophetic genre of writing, can be and often is factual. If the events happen, they are factual and true. Next, if prophecies about certain events impact how a society views its culture and tells its story, it becomes objective truth. On the subject of things yet to come, the proverbial end of the world, Armageddon, the Great Tribulation, one could conclude that humanity, somewhere in the world, is always in the end times, and consequently, somewhere there's always new beginnings. Conveniently, I'm allowed this opinion without being a heretic because all Christian doctrine about eschatology, the end times, except the doctrine of the second coming, are considered adiaphora. Now, all these facts considered, the second coming of Jesus Christ may very well be imminent. It is noteworthy that in the doctrines of Christian eschatology, the only doctrine that is truly universal, regardless of denomination, geography, or flavor of Christianity, is the doctrine that a second coming will happen. I concede this view has not been universal for the entire 2,000 years of our church. While there may be an individual today who identifies themselves as a full preterist, there do not seem to be individual congregations or denominations that hold a view without any future prophecy about Jesus Christ and his love-love relationship with humanity in the physical world. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being with me. Hope we got it better this time. You can support our work. PayPal's the easiest and most beneficial for me. You can visit and find out more about narrative apologetics at evangelistnickgarrett.com. You can purchase one of the books I've written at amazon.com/author/Nicholasdgarrett. We also sell commercial products like t-shirts, mugs, things like that. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, at EvangelistNickG or at EvangelistNickGarrett. Friends, God bless you, and may your work today bear fruit. Thanks.